Hi. So, as I mentioned on Monday or yesterday, I can't remember, I'm going to start doing a Wednesday live for like a Why Wednesday. So, a conventional runner thought or something you guys send me that you want a little bit more information about, and I'm going to talk about why that's the case and whether or not it's something that we should follow or believe in, take into account with our training, however that goes. So something that I want to talk about today is why we are told that you shouldn't try to lose weight training for a marathon. It's pretty commonly repeated and found online, and I've seen people get really frustrated and say that's absolutely not the case. I've been able to lose weight training for a marathon. So I want to kind of talk about why that's the case, why that's commonly told to people, and then we can talk about whether or not that makes sense for you to consider with your training. So in the last 15, 20 years, marathoning has skyrocketed in terms of popularity and how many people are running the distance. That means that unless studies have been done recently, most of the data is from 20 years ago at this point, right? And if we think about the number of participants who are participating, the number of participants in those studies who are running marathons, it's not a super high number compared to the relative population, and not even compared to how many people are running marathons now. It also would have been a different makeup of person running the marathon than the makeup of people running the marathon now. So it was less recreational runners and more runners who had some sort of experience. Less people like me who got into running in their late 20s and decided to conquer a marathon. Less people who had zero fitness experience and running experience and distance experience, right? Now we've had a huge increase of running, distance running. And so that's changed the look of people and the aesthetic of people who are runners and who run, which is amazing. So before I go into this anymore, I just want to fully state that I believe that anybody can run, anybody can run, and anybody can run a marathon, regardless of anything, size, weight, aesthetic, whatever. And I think you can crush it and feel really strong. So that being said, when people make the jump from not to decide to run a marathon, this is something that I have said, coach our athletes to not practice or not try to lose weight, because the focus is on the endurance. To jump, most of the time people jump from a half marathon to a marathon, and that jump in endurance training is huge. It's a huge stress and tax on your body, and if you're asking your body to do that additional thing, you don't also want to be trying to cut calories or cut carbs or anything like that in the process. You really want to make sure you're fueling your body to do the work that you're asking it to do. Now, this is where it gets tricky, because if you are someone who is not used to fueling your body for endurance, and in the course of marathon training, you start eating more lean protein because that's what you're craving, and you start eating more vegetables because that's what you're craving, and you start realizing that you need to eat right when you wake up instead of fasting until 8 o'clock, then those are really good things, and they're probably going to equal weight loss for you over the course of a marathon training cycle. If you're somebody who before marathon training already ate pretty clean, and then you start marathon training and now you're craving extra food at night. I know this was the case for me when I was marathon training. I wanted a bowl of cereal every night because I simply had a hard time eating enough during the day of those vegetables and those lean proteins and those healthy carbs to make up for it. And so I needed more food. That's often what happens to marathon people training for a marathon if they already are eating pretty clean to begin with. So they're not going to see that weight loss, and in fact will probably see a weight gain, because it's a really hard way to figure it out. And you're especially going to see that weight gain not because you're actually gaining weight, but because of increased it will be actual weight, but increased holding on to water and increased carb load in that last section of your taper and onto race day. You'll be up a couple of pounds from what you're used to because you're getting your body ready to push really hard for a really long time. I hope that makes sense. So the moral of the story is that with all things in coaching, it depends. So the general idea that you shouldn't try to lose weight when you are marathon training is something that I agree with for some people. If you are somebody who eats pretty clean usually, I would not try to lose extra weight on top of that, because you need to feel into your marathon training cycle and like lose weight and see very vast improvements in both weight loss and in your marathon training. So really, it comes down to you and depends. If you have questions on this or you want to learn more, I would love to chat all things running and marathoning and kind of what that might look like for you. Send me a message. Thank you so much.